Story
Yeah?
time.
When we got here, it was like, wow, finally. Finally, out of the borders of Nigeria, finally. And it was like some of the experiences that we beheld on the TV, some of the, the sights that you see on TV in American movies or in British movies. You were now there like the actor in the movie. So
Yeah.
it was nice. Well, I think for me, right, so the plan to relocate to the United Kingdom or to JAPA from Nigeria, it started with her. Because even before we got married, she's been wanting to JAPA for a long time.
Yes.
She wanted to go to the Philippines, I remember. And after the Philippines, she started the Canada parole. I joined, or we got together when in the Canada journey. So we started the Canada journey and we were on lead for a while. Before Canada was delaying, so we decided UK was faster, so we decided to relocate to the UK. So she had that, she wanted to leave Nigeria. For me, the reason why I joined was looking around me then. I work in the IT industry, looking at the pay that I get in Nigeria, looking at the remuneration, right? And looking at what's obtainable worldwide. Comparing my salary to what people would get outside Nigeria, it was better for me to work outside Nigeria. You can say that, okay, people were working remotely even as at the time I was in Nigeria. I was working remotely too. I was earning Forex, right? I could have said, okay, fine, I will still get Forex or get foreign exchange and live in Nigeria. But I thought, you know what, why not go abroad? Why not leave the condition in Nigeria and have a better quality of life abroad? So it was more about the quality of life. While I also earn foreign exchange, I want to live a better life as well. And that was what motivated me as well. Then we joined and we started. Canada wasn't forthcoming, so we wanted the fast one, and that was how we got to United Kingdom.
Well, for me personally, it's something that has been at the back of my mind, even while I was going into university in Nigeria. Maybe it may stem from the fact that I've had uncles scattered all across the globe, and at the point, I think just before my high school days, then was a plan to go to the US, but for some reason that didn't materialize. So the plan was, okay, after university, I'll go on to the US. US was the initial destination, but for some reason I found myself in the UK, and I believe that's God's plan for me.
So who relocated first?
Him?
I did first, yeah.
All right, then you joined him.
I was imported.
Oh, you were imported.
So he came back to Nigeria for the wedding.
That's correct.
You were imported.
Yep.
Did you want to leave?
Yes and no. No, because I finished serving. I think that was January of that year, and I just finished my law school, and I was in a really good, global law firm. So I was doing fab straight out of school, but you already had a car, you already knew your path, everything was set, you were living the life, Lagos big girl. So from that side, no, because I was in a place I knew the terrain, I knew how to get around, and then to be going to a totally new place. But then yes, because it was also exciting, somewhere new, you're going abroad, you're going to start a new life, you're going to be married. And I got married February, and then I was here March. So it all happened too quickly. So I think the no was because of the uncertainty, and it was an unknown terrain.
Okay, so for me, right, I had a different mindset entirely. It was more of looking at the people around me, like what is actually different from the way they've been living. I look at my parents and I look at my siblings, the people that are ahead of me, like the same job markets that when you graduate and they say, oh, welcome to the labor market, all of you keep applying for jobs, nothing is forthcoming. So from an earlier stage, I've made up my mind that, JAPA has to be the way out. So I started the journey quite early, just like you said. It was Canada, it was Philippines first, then Canada. I tried admission in Canada. I got admission, but then the tuition fee was on the high side, so I said, no, let me slow down. Then we joined the express entry pool. Then that was taking forever. Then decide, you know what, I think UK is opening up right now, so we can actually, go through the UK. Then the second reason for me would be, I want a better life for my children. It's not just about me. Like, I don't want them to struggle with the same thing I struggle with in Nigeria. I wanted them to be able to pursue better opportunity with the children in the diaspora and not, where I'm coming from. So I wanted them to be exposed to, better quality of life. Yeah.
My dad first came here because he had to work, and then he discussed that we should all move.
I've lived in the UK for around 2 years now. Well, my dad came here, for starters, but then he told my mum that we should all come here, so we got a flight in area.
I've lived in the UK, I think it's a little shy of 2 decades now. The main reasons, as I mentioned earlier, it was for the purpose of furthering my education. So I wanted to attain a master's degree, and that was why I came. My dad was one of the motivation. He studied abroad as well after his degree in Nigeria. So that's always been a childhood dream that I was going to do that at some point as well. And also my first degree was in mathematics and computer science, and I sort of had an inkling that was going to be where the future was going, and so getting myself prepared in terms of getting more knowledge and education along that line what's another motivation for me to apply to university where I can do a master's in information technology, and no regrets. I thought that was a good decision.
I wrote my first JAM. I got admitted to UI to study industrial chemistry, which was not what I wanted to study. I started writing another JAM as soon as I got to the uni. Every year I wrote JAMs for like 4 years after that, and none of them, I didn't get any of them. Either they ceased the result outright or the result was delayed, such that when I got to the university of my choice, admission had already closed. So that happened for like 4 years plus the one I missed originally. So 5 years of my life wasted like that. At the end of the day, I went back to JAPA to write the last one. Like this one, if I miss this, then that will be the end. I wrote it and I got the right scores. I got admitted to study accounting, and with industrial actions and everything. By the time I finished my first degree, I was above 30 already. And there was this constraint that if you were above 30, it would be tough for you to get a job in Nigeria. So in summary, the fact that I was constrained in my capacity to be able to get a job, that was the motivation for me coming over here. And I got here, came here on a student visa. I did a master's degree, I did my professional exams in accountancy, and I got a job that Nigeria would not offer me.
Oh, my first experience, when I walked in, the air was cold and it gave me the chills. I looked around and I was amazed because I've never seen this before. So it's kind of amazing.
Well, when I first arrived, then in London, it was cold. And I had to change my orientation of how I dress. So, and I remember one of my friends said to me that, you're always, coating up, having layers. And I said to her that when it's summer, you come and meet me, and then we'll see the person who is more fashionable than the other. That at this rate, I'm not going to put myself into jeopardy of cold weather.
First impression, a system that works is a first impression, and obviously you need to, especially when you're in Scotland, you need to adjust yourself to the weather. You get used to it. I mean, we can say global warming now, so it's much colder then than it is now. But yeah, the weather, the change in the weather, the first impression, especially when you come into Scotland as well, the accent. that's something that you need to get used to.
Yeah, it was different for me to living somewhere where the faces you saw where you were coming from were the majority, and it's only when you went to certain part of maybe Lagos where I was that you saw Caucasians, to then coming to a part where it was dominated by Caucasians and you were the minority. And I remember my first few weeks of going out to shop, everybody looked at me like a tourist attraction, like, where is this person coming from? I felt odd. So that for me was a shock.
My first impression was that things were done completely differently here. I think one thing that first shocked me was a night, I think on the same night that I came in. My friend was driving and I was in the car. It was at night. There were no cars on the road at that time. And we got to a red light and the guy stopped. I'm like, I was looking back, I was looking ahead. There were no cars. I'm like, just go. And at that point he said, if you move, the letter will come through the post and you can't escape the fine. So that shocked me. Then another time I went to the bank. I got a check from my school for a refund. And I went to pay it into my account at the bank. So when I did apply to the school, I think I wrote my surname first and then my first name after that. So when they issued the check, that's how they issued it. And I got to the bank and the bank would not take it from me. I'm like, look, it's the same name. They just wrote it this way and that way. They wouldn't do it. I'm like, I got so frustrated. I got so annoyed, I was coming with the mentality of, in Nigeria, you just overrule, you override every control. You just do things, with discretion.
Exactly. You
Then
think out of the box.
Exactly.
They don't think out of the box.
No, I wouldn't
follow it.
Not that they don't think outside of the box, but they have procedures, processes that you cannot override.
Yeah, but there are times you need to think out of the box.
Yeah, but it is in doing that the system here works, because they have the process. They don't try to override it because somebody has the capacity to do it. They follow the process, do it this way, that's the way they do it. Whereas in our case, I was expecting that somebody would say, oh, just look at it, it's the same name. They just wrote the surname first and the last name, So those two things kind of shaped how I started to view things around here, to know that, look, here, they don't override control systems. They don't use discretions to do that. Those are the two first impressions that I got.
I thought it was big and the houses looked amazing and everywhere was so tidy and neat.
My first experiences upon arriving, I talking about it now, I can remember when the aircraft was making its descent into London, because I flew into London from Lagos. As we were making our descent into London, there was blue sky. Everything was bright. It was daylight arrival, and the first thing that I noticed coming down was the order, the way the houses were lined up in a particular fashion, the way flowers and plants were all lined up in a particular way. It was just the order. That was what caught my attention as we're descending. So that's the order, the cleanliness of the environment that we're landing in. Those were the things that caught my attention at the time.
Story time.
Well, when we got here, it was like, wow, finally. Finally, out of the borders of Nigeria, finally. And it was like some of the experiences that we beheld on the TV, some of the, the sights that you see on TV in American movies or in British movies. You were now there like the actor in the movie. So
Yeah.
it was nice, the sights, the environment, the things that you had access to. It was wow, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It was like you could shop in the same mall where the big people would shop. You have access, you have the same opportunities that perhaps the Prime Minister would have.
You don't have to be
so-
like rich before you can have access to those things. Like when we first entered, I remember when we first got to Heathrow, I was like, yes, finally, we are here, UK. Then when my brother came, I started driving out of the airport and I was seeing the whole bit. I was like, Peter, this cannot be real. We are in UK finally. You know, it was, for me, it was kind of emotional. I was excited. I was like, yes, this is my new reality. Then I remember when we went to collect our BRP and went to London. The first time we went
Liverpool Street.
Liverpool Street. That was the first time we entered the train. And it was like, oh. We were literally acting like village people. My
brother-in-law was like, there's no way you get into this country. When people see you,
they know that
yeah,
JJC.
So it's always obvious the way you'd walk or maybe some of the reactions that you portray or something. It would be obvious that, you know.
Oh my God. When we got to Liverpool Street, I was like, we're just looking at it like, what? No. I said, Shola, I'm in American movie right now. It's like that movie. It was mind-blowing, it was beautiful, it was, everything was, oh no. So really, oh.